midnight knock. Jake Martinez sat alone in his small apartment, staring at a bowl of instant noodles. The steam rose lazily in the dim light of his kitchen. It was midnight, and he had just finished another 10-hour shift at the warehouse. His back hurt. His feet hurt. Everything hurt, but this was life. This was normal. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside. Jake lived on the 4th floor of an old building in the city. Small one-bedroom place. Worn furniture. Cracked walls. It wasn't much, but it was his. He slurped his noodles mechanically, not really tasting them. His eyes were fixed on the TV, but he wasn't watching. Just another night. Just another meal alone. Just another day of existing without really living. Jake was 28 years old and had no friends. No girlfriend. No family nearby. His parents had died in a car accident 5 years ago. He had no siblings. No cousins he talked to. Just him, his warehouse job, and his instant noodles, sometimes. He wondered if anyone would notice if he just disappeared. He was lifting another forkful of noodles to his mouth when the knock came. Bang, bang, bang. 3 heavy hits on his door. Urgent, aggressive. Jake jumped, nearly dropping his fork. He looked at the clock on his microwave. 12:34 a.m. Who knocked on doors at midnight? Bang, bang, bang. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. Jake stood up slowly, his heart beating faster. He walked to the door and looked through the peephole. What he saw made him blink in surprise. A woman stood in the hallway. She wore a police uniform, dark blue with a silver badge on her chest. She was tall, maybe 5'10", athletic build. Her hair was an unusual silver-gray color, pulled back in a tight ponytail. Her face was sharp and angular, with high cheekbones and a strong jaw, but it was her eyes that caught Jake's attention. Even through the peephole, they looked strange. Amber-colored, almost glowing in the hallway light. "Sir," the officer called out. Her voice was firm but had an edge of urgency. "I know you're there. I need to come inside." Right now, Jake hesitated. "What's this about?" "Please, sir, open the door. It's an emergency." Something in her voice made Jake act. He unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door. The officer didn't wait for an invitation. The moment the door opened wide enough, she pushed past Jake and stepped inside. She immediately closed the door behind her and locked it, both the handle lock and the deadbolt. "Hey," Jake protested. "What are you—" "Quiet," she said sharply, holding up one hand. She moved to his living room window and peeked through the curtain, looking down at the street below. Her body was tense like a wire pulled too tight. Jake noticed her hands were shaking. "Okay, seriously, what's going on?" Jake demanded. "You can't just barge into my apartment." "I don't care if you're a cop." The officer turned to face him. Up close, she was even more striking. Her amber eyes were intense, almost predatory. Her badge read, "Officer L. Graves, I'm sorry for the intrusion, Mr. Martinez." "Jake Martinez. Mr. Martinez, I'm Officer Luna Graves. I need to ask you some questions. Do you live alone?" "Yes, but..." "Good. Do you have any weapons in the apartment?" "What?" "No, I mean kitchen knives, but stay away from the windows," Luna interrupted. She moved quickly through his apartment, checking each window, closing every curtain. Her movements were efficient, but there was something unusual about them. Too smooth, too graceful, almost animal-like. Jake watched her, confusion turning to worry. "Officer Graves, you need to tell me what's happening. Are we in danger?" Luna finished checking the last window and turned to face him. She took a deep breath, and Jake saw her jaw clench like she was fighting some internal battle. "Mr. Martinez, Jake, I need you to listen very carefully. Do not open your door for anyone tonight. Do not answer if someone knocks. Do not look out the windows. Just stay inside and stay quiet." "Why?" "What's out there?" Luna walked to the window again, staying to the side so she couldn't be seen from outside. She peeked through a tiny gap in the curtain. Jake saw her shoulders stiffen. "Hunters," she said quietly. "Hunters? Like animal hunters?" "Something like that." Jake moved closer, trying to see what she was looking at. Luna tried to stop him, but he was already at the window. He looked down at the street 4 floors below. At first he saw nothing unusual, just a normal city street at night. A few parked cars, streetlights casting yellow pools of light, empty sidewalks. Then he saw them, shadows moving between the cars. But they moved wrong. Too fast, too fluid. Not like humans walking, but like something else. Something predatory. Jake's breath caught in his throat. One of the shadows passed under a streetlight, and for just a second, Jake saw glowing red eyes. Not reflecting light, actually glowing, like burning coals in the darkness. "What are those?" Jake whispered, his voice barely audible. Luna grabbed his shoulder and pulled him back from the window. Her grip was strong, stronger than it should be. "Hunters," she repeated. "Very dangerous hunters. And they're looking for something." Jake stared at her. "Looking for what?" Luna met his eyes. For a moment, she seemed to be deciding something. Then her eyes flashed yellow, a brief, impossible glow that made Jake's heart skip a beat. "Me," Luna said simply. "They're hunting me." Before Jake could respond, the lights in his apartment went out. Complete darkness swallowed them. The refrigerator stopped humming. The digital clock on the microwave went dark. Everything electronic in the building had died at once. Jake heard Luna's breathing change. It became heavier, deeper. There was a sound like bones cracking, a ripping sound like fabric tearing. "Don't turn on the lights," Luna's voice said, but it sounded different now. Deeper, more growl than words. "And don't scream. What's happening?" Jake asked, his voice shaking. He backed away, hands searching in the darkness. More cracking sounds, more tearing. Luna's breathing was now more like panting. Heavy, animal panting. "I'm still me," Luna's distorted voice said. "I'm still the good guy. I'm still a police officer. But I'm also something else." Jake's eyes were adjusting to the darkness. Emergency lights from the street outside cast a faint orange glow through the curtains. He could see Luna's silhouette, but it was wrong. She was taller now, broader. Her outline was no longer human. He could see pointed ears rising from her head, a long shape extending behind her, a tail. "Officer Graves?" Jake whispered. "Still here," the growling voice replied. "Still me, just different." Then from somewhere outside, a howl pierced the night. Long, mournful, and wild. It echoed through the city streets, making Jake's blood run cold. Luna's silhouette stiffened. She turned toward the window, and in the faint light, Jake saw her profile. It was no longer the face of a woman. It was something between human and wolf. A muzzle. Fangs. Fur-covering features that had been skin moments ago. Luna, if she could still be called that, tilted her head back. And she howled back. The sound filled Jake's small apartment. It vibrated in his chest, in his bones, in his soul. It was terrifying and beautiful and impossible all at once. When the howl ended, silence fell like a blanket. Luna's glowing yellow eyes turned to look at Jake in the darkness. He could see her clearly now, a werewolf standing in his living room, wearing the torn remains of a police uniform. "I'm sorry," Luna said, her voice still that deep growl, but somehow gentler. "I'm so sorry you got pulled into this. But those hunters outside, they've been tracking me for weeks. I had nowhere else to go." Jake stood frozen, his back against the wall, his heart hammering in his chest. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to call for help, to do anything except stand there. But he didn't run. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the exhaustion of 10 years working night shifts and living alone. Maybe it was the look in Luna's glowing eyes, not threatening but afraid, desperate, lonely. "Are you going to hurt me?" Jake asked, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. Luna's wolf ears drooped slightly. "No, never. I'm still a cop, Jake. I still protect people. I'm also this. A werewolf." "Yes." Jake took a shaky breath. His brain was trying to process what his eyes were seeing. Werewolves were supposed to be myths, stories, movies, not real. Not standing in his apartment at midnight, but here she was. Real, impossible, terrifying. And also, somehow, still the desperate police officer who had knocked on his door asking for help. "Okay," Jake said finally. "Okay, so what do we do now?" Luna looked surprised, her wolf face somehow expressing shock. "You're not screaming?" "I'm too tired to scream," Jake said honestly. "And also, you said you're still the good guy. Are you?" "Yes." "Then I guess we figure this out together." For the first time since entering his apartment, Luna seemed to relax slightly. Her tail, Jake couldn't believe he was looking at a tail, swayed once. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Most humans would have run by now." "Yeah, well," Jake said, sliding down the wall to sit on the floor. I've got nowhere to run to anyway. In the darkness of his small apartment, a lonely warehouse worker and a werewolf police officer sat in silence, while outside hunters circled like sharks smelling blood. Jake's boring, ordinary life had just become very interesting, and somehow, despite the fear, despite the impossibility of it all, Jake felt more alive than he had in 5 years. The truth revealed. The darkness in Jake's apartment felt heavy, like a blanket pressing down on everything. Jake sat on the floor, his back against the wall, trying to wrap his mind around what he was seeing. A werewolf, a real werewolf, standing in his living room. Luna moved carefully through the apartment, her clawed feet making soft clicking sounds on the hardwood floor. Even in her transformed state, she moved with purpose, checking the windows again, listening at the door. "They're still out there," she said, her voice that strange mixture of human and animal. "I can smell them. 6, maybe 7 hunters. They've surrounded the building." Jake's mouth was dry. "What do they want?" "Me. Dead." Luna sat down on the floor across from him, careful to keep her distance. In the faint emergency light from outside, Jake could see her more clearly now. She was covered in silver-gray fur. Her hands were still somewhat human-shaped but ended in dark claws. Her face was a wolf's muzzle, but her eyes, those amber eyes, were still recognizably hers. "Still human in some way? Why?" Jake asked. "What did you do?" Luna's ears flattened against her head. "I was born. That's what I did wrong. I was born a werewolf." She shifted position, pulling her knees to her chest. Despite being 7 feet tall and covered in fur, she somehow looked small, vulnerable. "The hunters don't care if we're good or bad," Luna continued. "They don't care if we help people or hurt people. They just care that we're different, not human. Their motto is simple: if it's not human, it dies." "That's insane," Jake said. "That's humanity," Luna replied bitterly. Then she caught herself. "I'm sorry. That's not fair. Most humans don't even know we exist. But the hunters, they're fanatics. They've been killing supernatural creatures for centuries, werewolves, vampires, anything they consider a monster." Jake was quiet for a moment, processing. Are there really vampires too? Despite everything, Luna made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yes, though they're nothing like the movies. Most of them are just trying to survive like the rest of us. And you? How long have you been like this?" "All my life. I was born this way. My mother was a werewolf. My father was human. I inherited my mother's genes." "Was?" Jake picked up on the past tense. Luna's eyes dimmed. "Hunters killed my mother when I was 15. My father died trying to protect her. I escaped and ran. I've been running ever since." "I'm sorry," Jake said quietly. Luna looked at him, surprised. "You're sorry? I'm a monster sitting in your apartment, and you're sorry for me?" "You're not a monster," Jake said. "You're a police officer. You protect people. That's not what monsters do." Luna stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly her body began to change again. The fur receded. Her muzzle shortened. Her bones cracked and reformed. Within a minute she was human again, or at least human-looking. She sat there in the torn remains of her police uniform, breathing heavily from the transformation. "Sorry," she said, her voice back to normal. "I can control it, but it takes energy. When I'm stressed or in danger, the wolf takes over automatically." Jake noticed she was shivering. He stood up, went to his bedroom and grabbed a blanket. He came back and tossed it to her. Luna caught it and wrapped it around herself gratefully. "Thank you," she said. "You said they've been tracking you for weeks?" Jake asked, sitting back down. Luna nodded. "I'm a cop in the Special Crimes Unit. My captain, Captain Rodriguez, he knows what I am. He's one of the few humans I trust. He uses me for cases that need special skills, enhanced senses, enhanced strength. I can track better than any police dog. So your captain knows you're a werewolf?" "He's known for 3 years. Since I joined the force, I was honest with him from the start. I thought he'd turn me away, but he didn't. He said if I wanted to help people, he'd find a way to make it work." Jake found himself smiling slightly. "He sounds like a good guy." "The best," Luna agreed. "But tonight, I was investigating a murder scene in the warehouse district. A young woman killed by something with claws. The captain wanted me to check if it was supernatural. Was it? Yes, vampire attack. I found the vampire's trail and was following it when I realized I was being followed too. The hunters. They must have been watching the crime scene, waiting. They knew eventually a supernatural creature would show up to investigate. So they were hunting the vampire, but found you instead? Exactly, I ran. I'm fast in wolf form, but they had cars, guns, silver bullets. I barely escaped. Luna pulled the blanket tighter. I was running down your street when the pain hit. Silver poisoning. One of their bullets grazed me. I could feel the wolf form taking over whether I wanted it or not. I saw your building and took a chance. Knocked on random doors until someone answered. Lucky me, Jake said. There was no sarcasm in his voice, just statement of fact. Jake, I need you to understand something. Those hunters outside, they saw me enter this building. They know I'm in here. When dawn comes, they'll search every apartment. And if they find you helped me, she trailed off. What? They'll kill me too. Maybe, or they'll drag you in for questioning. They have connections, government, military, wealthy donors. They can make people disappear. Jake should have been terrified. Any sane person would be. But instead he felt oddly calm. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the fact that his boring, lonely life had suddenly become very interesting. How long until dawn? He asked. Luna checked her watch. Somehow still intact despite her transformation. 4 hours, maybe 5. And then what? Then I leave. I run again. Find a new city, new identity. Start over. Her voice was flat, emotionless. Like she'd done this 100 times before. Where will you go? Does it matter? I'll be alone either way. Luna's mask cracked slightly. Her voice shook. I'm always alone. It's safer that way. People who get close to me end up dead. My parents, my pack, a human friend I had in college. The hunters killed her just to get to me. So I learned. I keep everyone at arm's length. I do my job, I move on. I survive. That's not living, Jake said quietly. Luna looked at him, really looked at him. What? Surviving isn't the same as living. Trust me, I know. What do you mean? Jake leaned his head back against the wall. I've been alone for 5 years. Since my parents died. I work at a warehouse, come home, eat noodles, watch TV, sleep, repeat. Every day the same. I have no friends, no girlfriend, no hobbies. I just exist. He looked at Luna. Tonight, when you knocked on my door, I was sitting there with my instant noodles, wondering if anyone would notice if I just disappeared, wondering if my life meant anything at all. Luna's eyes softened. But then you knocked, Jake continued, and suddenly I'm in the middle of something real, something that matters. For the first time in 5 years, I feel like I'm actually alive. Jake, you could die. The hunters, I was already dying, Jake interrupted, just slowly, from loneliness, from pointlessness. At least this way I'm dying for something real. They sat in silence for a moment. The emergency lights outside flickered, casting strange shadows across the room. Why did you become a cop? Jake asked suddenly. Luna seemed surprised by the question. Because I wanted to help people. I spent years running, hiding, being afraid. I was tired of it. I thought if I could use what I am, these powers, these abilities, to protect people instead of just survive, maybe my life would mean something. Sounds familiar, Jake said with a slight smile. Luna smiled back. It was the first real smile Jake had seen from her. We're both pretty pathetic, aren't we? Extremely, Jake agreed. They both laughed, quiet, tired laughter, but genuine. For a moment, the danger outside didn't matter. The hunters didn't matter. They were just two lonely people finding unexpected connection in the strangest circumstances. Then Luna's head snapped up. Her eyes widened. Do you smell that? Jake sniffed. Smoke? Luna jumped to her feet, rushing to the window. She looked out, then her face went pale. No, oh no. What? They're setting fire to the building. Jake rushed to join her. Down on the street, he could see figures moving. One of them was pouring liquid from a container at the building's entrance. Another was holding what looked like a torch. They're going to burn us out, Luna said, her voice tight with panic. They're going to kill everyone in this building just to get to me. Jake's mind raced. There were 30 apartments in this building. Families, children, old people. All of them about to die because hunters wanted one werewolf. We have to get everyone out, Jake said. There's no time. And if I transform and start evacuating people, the hunters will know exactly where I am. Then we don't transform. We do it as humans, Luna looked at him like he was crazy. Jake, there are 7 hunters out there with guns and silver weapons. If we go outside, then we go out the back. Through the alley. Get people out quietly. And go where? They have the building surrounded. Jake thought for a moment. Then he remembered. The basement. There's a basement that connects to the sewer system. The landlord showed me when I moved in. Said it was from Prohibition days when they used to smuggle alcohol. Luna's eyes lit up. Underground exit? Maybe, if it's not blocked. It was a slim hope. But it was hope. Luna looked down at the hunters. The one with the torch was moving closer to the building entrance. They had maybe 2 minutes before the fire started. Okay, she said. We evacuate everyone we can. Get them to the basement. Hope the old tunnel works. And if it doesn't? Luna's jaw set with determination. Then I transform. I hold off the hunters while everyone escapes. I die, but everyone else lives. That's not a plan, Jake protested. That's suicide. That's being a cop, Luna said simply. She moved toward the door, then paused and looked back at Jake. Thank you. For not running. For not turning me in. For just being decent. Luna, wait. She opened the door to the hallway just as the fire alarm began to blare. Smoke was already rising from the ground floor. No time, Luna said. She ran into the hallway and started pounding on doors. Fire! Everyone out! Use the back stairs. Jake followed her, knocking on other doors. People emerged in pajamas, confused and frightened. Parents carrying children. An old man with a cane. A young couple holding hands. This way? Luna directed them, her cop training taking over. Stay calm. Stay together. Head to the basement, not outside. Why the basement? Someone asked. Just trust me. Luna called back. They herded everyone down the back stairwell, away from the smoke. The fire was spreading fast, too fast. This wasn't a normal fire. The hunters had used accelerant. They reached the basement door. Jake kicked it open. Inside was darkness and the smell of mold and old concrete. Everyone inside, Luna ordered. Jake, find that tunnel. Jake ran into the basement, searching with his phone's flashlight. Behind him, he could hear people filing down, coughing from the smoke that followed them. There, in the back corner. An old wooden door half hidden behind boxes here, Jake shouted. He and Luna moved the boxes. Jake tried the door, locked. Step back, Luna said. Her eyes flashed yellow. She kicked the door once, hard. The lock shattered. The door swung open, revealing a dark tunnel leading down. This leads to the sewers, Jake told everyone. It's going to be dark and wet, but it's our only way out. People hesitated. The tunnel looked terrifying, then the ceiling above them groaned. Smoke poured down the stairs. The building was collapsing. People ran into the tunnel. Luna stood at the door counting heads. 28, 29. Is that everyone? Everyone we could reach, Jake said. Luna looked at the stairs. The smoke was too thick. If anyone was still up there. We have to go, Jake said, grabbing her arm. We can't help them if we're dead. Luna's face was anguished, but she nodded. They followed the last of the residents into the tunnel. Jake pulled the door closed behind them. In the darkness of the tunnel, lit only by phone flashlights, 30 people moved forward. Above them, they heard the building groan and crack as fire consumed it. They walked in silence through the tunnel. Water dripped from pipes overhead. Rats skittered in the shadows. But everyone kept moving. After what felt like hours but was probably only 15 minutes, they saw light ahead. An exit grate leading to another street 3 blocks away. Jake and Luna helped push it open. One by one, people emerged into the dawn light. Free, safe, alive. Luna was the last to climb out. She pulled herself up and looked around. No hunters in sight. They'd made it. People hugged each other, crying with relief. Someone thanked Luna, then someone else. Soon everyone was thanking her, this cop who had saved their lives. Jake stood back, watching Luna's face. She looked overwhelmed, like she'd forgotten what it felt like to be appreciated instead of feared. Then sirens filled the air. Real police cars, fire trucks, emergency vehicles, and leading them was a man in a captain's uniform. He saw Luna and his face broke into a relieved smile. Graves, Captain Rodriguez called out. Thank God, we got your emergency signal. Are you okay? Yes, Captain. Everyone's safe. The captain looked at the burned building in the distance, then at the 30 people standing in the street. You evacuated them? With help, Luna said, gesturing to Jake. Captain Rodriguez looked at Jake with respect. Good work, civilian, but Jake was watching the streets. The hunters, where were they? Luna saw his concern. She leaned close and whispered, "They'll be back. They always come back." "Then we need a better plan than running," Jake whispered back. "We?" Jake looked at her seriously. "You said people who get close to you end up dead. But maybe that's because you've been facing these hunters alone. Maybe it's time you had backup." "Jake, you're not a cop. You're not a fighter. You're a warehouse worker who knows buildings and tunnels and back exits," Jake finished. "Who just helped save 30 people. Who knows what it's like to be alone. And who's not letting you face this by yourself." Luna stared at him. Her amber eyes were wide with disbelief and something else. Something like hope. "You're insane," she said. "Probably," Jake agreed. "But I'm also tired of living a boring life. So what do you say, Officer Graves? Want a partner?" Luna looked at Captain Rodriguez, who was coordinating with firefighters. She looked at the 30 people whose lives they'd saved. She looked at the rising sun, painting the sky pink and gold. Then she looked back at Jake. And she smiled. "Partners," she said, holding out her hand. Jake shook it. Her grip was strong, maybe a bit too strong, but he didn't mind. For the first time in 5 years, Jake Martinez felt like he belonged somewhere. Like he mattered to someone, and for the first time in 15 years, Luna Graves felt like she wasn't alone anymore. But their moment was shattered by a voice from across the street, touching, really. They turned. 3 figures stood in the alley opposite them. They wore dark clothes and carried crossbows. Hunters. The lead hunter was a tall man with gray hair and cold eyes. He smiled, but it was the smile of a predator. "Officer Graves, we meet at last. I'm Marcus Hunt, leader of the Eastern Seaboard Hunter Division." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "This is a police matter. You need to leave," Marcus laughed. "Police matter? Captain, the creature standing next to you is a werewolf. A monster. She fooled you, manipulated you, but we're here to correct that mistake. Officer Graves is under my protection," Captain Rodriguez said firmly. "And if you threaten one of my officers, you threaten all of us." More police officers moved forward, hands on their weapons. Marcus's smile faded. "This isn't over, Captain. That wolf and anyone who helps her are marked. We'll be watching. We'll be waiting. And when you least expect it, we'll strike." He looked directly at Jake. "Especially you, warehouse worker. You should have stayed out of this. Now you're on our list too." Before anyone could respond, the hunters disappeared into the alley, vanishing like smoke. Luna's hand found Jake's. She squeezed it gently. "I'm sorry. I dragged you into this," Jake squeezed back. "You didn't drag me. I jumped in, and I'm not jumping back out." Captain Rodriguez sighed. "Graves, we need to talk. You too, Mr. Martinez. Looks like you're in this now, whether you like it or not." As the sun fully rose over the city, Jake realized his boring life was over. He was now part of something dangerous, something impossible, something real. He looked at Luna, at her worried face and amber eyes, and realized something else. He wouldn't change a thing. The Hunt Captain Rodriguez's office was small and cluttered with files, coffee cups and old case reports. Jake sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, still wearing his warehouse uniform from the night before. Luna stood by the window, her arms crossed, watching the street below with those sharp amber eyes. The captain sat behind his desk, rubbing his temples like he had a massive headache. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," he said slowly. "The hunters set fire to a residential building, endangered 30 civilians, and openly threatened my officer and a civilian witness in broad daylight." "Yes, sir," Luna said. "And you, Mr. Martinez?" The captain turned to Jake. "Instead of running for your life like any sane person, you decided to help evacuate an entire building and are now, what, volunteering to be a target?" Jake shifted in his chair. "When you put it that way, it sounds stupid." "Because it is stupid," Captain Rodriguez said, but his tone wasn't angry. More exhausted. "Son, these hunters are serious. They have money, connections, military training. They've been operating in the shadows for decades, and you're a warehouse worker with no combat experience." "I know," Jake said, "but Luna can't face them alone. She's not alone. She has the entire police department." "With respect, Captain," Luna spoke up. The hunters don't care about badges. They think they're on a holy mission. They'll go through police officers if they have to. Captain Rodriguez knew she was right. His jaw tightened. So what do you propose? We can't arrest them without evidence. We can't protect you 24/7. And they've made it clear they're not stopping. The room fell silent. Jake looked at Luna. She looked small somehow, despite her height and strength. Tired. Like she'd fought this battle 100 times and lost every time. I'll leave, Luna said quietly. I'll resign from the force. Leave the city. They'll follow me and leave everyone else alone. Jake grabbed his phone with shaking hands. He called Captain Rodriguez. Captain, it's Jake Martinez. Luna and I found the hunter base. Waterfront factory, Pier 19. She just went in alone. She's going to get herself killed. You need to send everyone. Right now. On our way. 10 minutes, Mr. Martinez, stay in the car. Do not go in there. Jake hung up. He looked at the factory. Inside, he heard shouting, gunfire, a roar that could only be Luna. 10 minutes. The captain said 10 minutes. Luna might not have 10 minutes. Jake thought about his boring life, his warehouse job, his instant noodles, his loneliness. Then he thought about Luna, the werewolf cop who knocked on his door, who trusted him, who treated him like he mattered. Sorry, Captain, Jake muttered. He got out of the car and ran toward the factory. Inside was chaos. Luna was fighting 3 hunters at once. She was fast and strong, but they were trained. They had silver weapons. One slashed her shoulder with a silver blade. Luna screamed in pain, the wound smoking. Jake saw the young werewolf chained to a post. The kid was terrified, pulling at the chains uselessly. Jake ran to him. Hold still. Who are you? The kid gasped. Friend of Luna's. I'm getting you out. The chains were locked. Jake looked around desperately. There, a crowbar leaning against a wall. He grabbed it and wedged it into the chain links. Using all his strength, he pried until the chain broke. Run, Jake told the kid. Get out of here. The young werewolf didn't need to be told twice. He bolted for the exit. A hunter saw Jake, Marcus Hunt himself. He raised a gun, pointing it at Jake's head. You should have stayed in your car, warehouse worker. Time seemed to slow. Jake saw Marcus's finger tighten on the trigger. He knew he was dead. No time to run. No time to hide. Then Luna crashed into Marcus like a freight train. They tumbled across the floor, Luna's jaws snapping at Marcus's throat. He barely rolled away in time. Jake, run! Luna's growl echoed through the factory, but running meant leaving Luna, and Jake had spent 5 years running from everything that mattered. Not anymore. He grabbed the crowbar and charged. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't brave. He was just a warehouse worker who was tired of being useless. He swung the crowbar at the nearest hunter. It connected with the man's knee. The hunter went down with a scream. Another hunter turned toward Jake. Before he could shoot, Luna pounced on him from behind. It was chaos, violence, terror, everything Jake had avoided his entire life. But he fought anyway. For Luna, for the kid they'd saved, for the idea that maybe, just maybe, he could be more than just a lonely warehouse worker eating instant noodles. Then sirens filled the air. Police cars screeched to a halt outside. Captain Rodriguez burst in with a dozen officers, weapons drawn. Everyone freeze. Police! The hunters looked at each other. They were outnumbered, surrounded. Marcus Hunt's cold eyes locked on Luna. This isn't over, Wolf. We'll meet again. I'm counting on it, Luna growled back. The hunters were arrested. Read their rights. Taken away in police cars, Luna transformed back to human, breathing heavily. Jake gave her his jacket to cover herself. They sat on the factory floor, exhausted, shaking with adrenaline. Captain Rodriguez looked at them both with a mixture of anger and respect. You two are the most reckless, idiotic, brave officers. He caught himself, and civilians I've ever met. Did the kid get away? Luna asked weakly. We found him 3 blocks away. Scared but alive. Thanks to you two. Luna leaned against Jake. He put his arm around her shoulders. They were covered in dirt, blood, and sweat, but they were alive, together. And for the first time in either of their lives, neither of them felt alone. Partners, Luna whispered. Partners, Jake agreed. Captain Rodriguez sighed. I'm going to regret this. But Graves, when you're recovered, how would you feel about an official consulting position for Mr. Martinez? Seems like he's got skills we could use. Jake looked up in surprise. Really? Really? God help me. As paramedics treated Luna's silver wounds and officers processed the crime scene, Jake looked around the factory. At the weapons, the chains, the evidence of hatred and hunting. This was his life. Now, dangerous, impossible, real, and sitting beside him was Luna Graves, werewolf cop friend. His boring life was over. His extraordinary life had just begun. Pack of 2-3 weeks had passed since the factory incident. Jake sat at Luna's kitchen table going through case files and sipping coffee. His coffee. He'd learned Luna liked her coffee with way too much sugar. A werewolf thing, she said. Something about high metabolism. The small studio apartment felt different now. Less empty. 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom. Jake's clothes mixed with Luna's in the tiny closet. His instant noodles in the cupboard next to her protein bars. It wasn't much, but it was starting to feel like home. Luna came out of the bedroom, adjusting her police uniform. She was back on active duty now, her shoulder wound fully healed. Werewolf healing was impressive. What would take a human months took her days. Ready? She asked. Jake looked up from the files. For what? Court. Marcus Hunt's arraignment is today. Captain wants us there, right? The hunters. In the 3 weeks since the factory raid, things had moved fast. The police had found enough evidence to charge Marcus Hunt and his team with arson, attempted murder, kidnapping, and domestic terrorism. It wasn't enough to expose the entire Hunter organization. They were too well hidden, but it was a start. Jake grabbed his jacket. The city had given him a temporary position as a civilian consultant to the Special Crimes Unit. It came with a small salary and health insurance. Not much, but more than the warehouse paid. Captain Rodriguez said it was to keep him close, keep him safe. Jake suspected it was also because Luna worked better with him around. The courthouse was busy. Lawyers in suits rushed past. Families waited on benches, the normal machinery of justice grinding forward. Captain Rodriguez met them at the entrance. Graves, Martinez, they're bringing Hunt up from holding in 5 minutes. I want you both in the courtroom. Show him we're not afraid. They took seats in the gallery. Jake noticed several people staring at Luna. Some knew what she was. Word had spread after the factory raid. But the official story was that Luna was a K-9 officer with special training. Most people accepted it, most but not all. The bailiff, announced Marcus Hunt. The hunter leader was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. His gray hair was neat, his posture straight. He looked calm, almost amused. His eyes found Luna in the crowd. He smiled, not a friendly smile, a predator's smile. Luna's hand found Jake's under the armrest. He squeezed gently. The judge read the charges. Marcus Hunt's lawyer, expensive, well-dressed, argued for bail. The prosecutor countered that Hunt was a flight risk and danger to the community. The judge agreed. No bail. Marcus Hunt would remain in custody until trial. As they led him away, Marcus stopped and looked directly at Luna. See you soon, Wolf, he said quietly. When these charges disappear and I walk free. The bailiffs pulled him away. Luna's grip on Jake's hand tightened painfully. Outside the courthouse, Captain Rodriguez looked grim. He's right, you know. His lawyers are good. Rich donors backing him. They'll find ways to make evidence disappear. Witnesses recant. This could fall apart. Then we make sure it doesn't, Luna said firmly. How? We find more evidence. We connect him to other crimes. We build a case so solid even expensive lawyers can't break it. Captain Rodriguez nodded. Do it. You have full department support. Over the next 2 months, Jake and Luna became a real team. They investigated hunter activities across the city, found victims, supernatural creatures who'd been attacked or killed, built connections between crimes. Jake learned quickly. He had a good eye for patterns, for details others missed. His warehouse experience helped. He understood logistics, supply chains, how organizations moved equipment and people. Luna taught him self-defense. Nothing fancy, but enough to keep him alive in a fight. In return, Jake taught Luna how to cook. Real food, not just protein bars and takeout. They fell into a rhythm. Wake up, train, work cases. Cook dinner together. Talk late into the night. Sleep. Jake on the couch, Luna in the bed. It was during one of those late-night talks that things shifted. They were sitting on the couch, reviewing files. Luna was in sweatpants and an old police academy t-shirt, her silver hair down. Jake was in his usual jeans and flannel shirt. "Jake," Luna said suddenly. "Yeah? Why did you really help me? That first night, you could have turned me in, called the hunters, saved yourself." Jake set down his file. "I already told you. You needed help, but why? You didn't know me. You didn't owe me anything." Jake was quiet for a moment. "You want the honest answer?" "Always, because when I opened that door and saw you, I saw myself. Someone alone, someone scared, someone just trying to survive in a world that didn't want them." He looked at her directly. "I've spent 5 years being invisible, Luna. People looked through me, not at me. But you saw me. From the first moment, you didn't treat me like I was nobody." Luna's amber eyes were soft. "You're not nobody, Jake. You're brave, kind, smart. You're everything I needed and didn't know I was looking for." The air between them felt charged. Different. "Luna, A phone rang." "Captain Rodriguez," Luna answered.